must step into that level of responsibility. I believe that young people in Africa, we have been too dependent for too long. If we don't step out of dependence, we don't get to where we're going. We need to begin to have some level of personal responsibility to what it is we have in our hands, such that an average small business owner does not even understand that his business contributes the largest to the GDP of the nation. And so he doesn't even see the reason why he should put any kind of effort. It's just, oh, how can I take care of myself? How can I
Yep.
be good? But you see, there's so much work we
Oh,
have
we
to
ready?
do. There's so much
Okay. Okay, guys, we're gonna go live. Sorry about that. Let's do it. Let's add these comments in our conversation. Hello, friends. Look, it's been a long time since we've done a VTTV event and production. We've been thinking long and hard behind the scenes about what to do and how to bring it to you. So the last time we were together, I was doing a masterclass, and it was very exciting. We were kind of sampling and playing around with this new format, this new world of digital, where I'm here and you're over there somewhere, and I'm trying to stream content to you and yet try to get a sense of interaction, right? So, what I've got for you today is actually very, very exciting. We've been working on it for the past 3 months. It's a thoroughly exciting conversation, and it's part of a very exciting project. Very big, very necessary, and very contemporary. I think really speaks to the moment and where we find ourselves. Before we go any further, I think we should just observe a moment of silence for our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. And again, we're with you as you go through the trials and challenges that you're facing in your own country at your own time. We're with you as brothers and sisters from the rest of the continent. We recognize fully that we are one, that where there is injustice anywhere, it affects all of us. And so we stand with our brothers and sisters in Nigeria as you go through your own time of difficulty. So what I have for you today is very exciting, very, very exciting. We're going to be talking about this moment that we're finding ourselves in and how we, you and I, as African entrepreneurs, can try to find a way to be a part of something really exciting. So I gotta tell you the story. Just over a year ago, I was in beautiful country, Tanzania, and I was in Dar es Salaam, and I went to this amazing accelerator incubator run by this guy called Jumani. And I get there, and there's like droves of entrepreneurs, and they're all waiting for me to do this masterclass, and so I'm here to do a masterclass, right? And I was there actually speaking, and then I said to them, I'd love to do a masterclass while I'm here. And the CEO of Vodacom in Tanzania, who's since become a good friend, said to me, there's only one guy you can do this with if you're in Tanzania, and he recommended Jumani and his team. So I get there, I do the masterclass, and we spark a relationship. And I remember saying to Jumani then, I was like, dude, we have to find a way of connecting each other and making sure that we work together as we're building the ecosystem of the continent. So what I want to do very quickly is take a break, and then when we come back, I'm going to introduce you to Jumana, I'm going to introduce you to my amazing friend CK, and then to the rest of our panel. Let's take a quick break. Okay, we're back. All right, so let me introduce you to the rest of my panel. First, meet my good friend Jumani, who joins us from the good people of Sahara Sparks in Tanzania. Jumani, how's it, brother? You well?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's kind of a bit of a challenging day with unfortunate situations that are happening in Nigeria, but otherwise, I'm very energized and optimistic about the future of Africa.
You keep posting these videos of your office view with the traffic in Dar es Salaam. I mean, it seems like there's just so much growth happening in your part of the world.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. Dar es Salaam is one of the fastest growing cities in Africa. We are expecting to attain mega city status by 2030. We'll have more than 10 million inhabitants. And that means 10 million opportunities for entrepreneurs. These people need to eat, to dress, to move. So we're looking for those exponential ideas to serve all these amazing new markets.
Great. Let's meet CK now. Hey, brother, are you well?
I'm doing great, Vosi. Thank you for and Jermaine for putting this together. I'm always excited to, have conversations of what's happening across the continent. So
I, I
thank you
always
for having.
I always say to people, there's only one guy I know who actually makes billionaire money from doing what we do, and his name is CK. And he likes to play like he's this humble guy, but actually we all know you got the money. You got the money.
True story, Vosi. True story.
So for those who are not aware, I'm going to be joining the board, of course, of your organization of the Innovation Village,
Yes.
and I'm very
Yes.
like I'm first. Thank you for thinking of me, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to add value to the amazing work that you've been doing for the great people of Uganda.
No, I mean we should be thanking you for accepting to help us reimagine the potential and the impact we can create, and I can't wait for all the things we're going to do together. So thank you for accepting to join us.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then I'd like to introduce Mara. By the way, Mara, I've got to tell you, I love your name. So you're coming in from Zambia, and everybody can see what the Kwacha is doing in Zambia. So we know that the operating environment is not particularly easy. How are things happening and going in your part of the world?
What I can say is that one needs to be tough, one needs to be creative, and very hopeful. While the environment is not very favorable, especially for small enterprise, businesses, we still need to remain hopeful and still committed to ensuring that we can drive the economy and hope that we get to a place where it will work for us or work in our favor. So right now, I'm basically just hanging in there and being as innovative as I can be. Even with the COVID, I wouldn't say it has been the worst year for us. It actually has highlighted quite a number of opportunities. So I'm really excited that we took this opportunity to identify what can we do different, how can we still remain afloat even during a time like this, a pandemic, and then the economy just not performing very well, and the inflation is a killer. So it hasn't been all bad, I must say. And we'll continue to look for those windows of opportunity and continue encouraging our ecosystem players and our community to stay focused, stay committed, and stay hopeful, and just keep working hard, basically.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And of course, we all know the work that you're doing with Jacaranda Hub. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be chatting about in the next few minutes. And then I'd like finally to introduce Just Ibe, who's with the Association for African Startups. Just Ibe, you are actually in Nigeria.
Yes.
How are things down on the ground? What's going on?
So it's been a lot of rough feelings. I mean, a lot of us cried all night, and are still very. I cannot explain how it feels to see people actually die.
So,
Well, I believe that we are at a phase in our country where people are beginning to realize that their voices matter and their voices can influence visible change. I cannot say categorically if our methodologies are 100% accurate, but the youths have got to find their voice, and however it is they find their voice, we just have to keep keeping strong, and hoping that at the end of all of this, what we have hoped would happen will happen. And I believe that Nigerians are praying people. We're praying and we're hoping that things are going to turn out fine. It's not been funny.
You know, if I can, and I don't want to wax lyrical on this, but at a spiritual level, I feel like the year 2020 for all of us has just been the year of revelation, right? And I think
Yeah.
the world is going through what it's going through as a rebirth of what we all need to do after all of
I
this.
agree.
And so I think it's just
Agree.
upon us to take this opportunity and it's an incredible opportunity we've been gifted by this moment to
Mm.
rethink, to reframe, to reposition, and just read it, just everything. Like, did we need the things we were doing before? Are we adding value? Does it matter? Is it making an
Yeah.
impact? And
Yeah.
and really just think about what does the next 50 years for our continent look like. So I'm very excited. So as you know, Jumani's been running these events called Sahara Sparks, and when I then got a sense of what he was doing, and I was like, this is really cool. There's an amazing opportunity for us to blow something like this up. Then I traveled over to Uganda, and I'm over at CK's place, and I'm like, hold on, this is amazing. There's an incredible opportunity for us to blow this up. And I realized as we were doing things, just Steve, as you and I were talking about what you're doing with the association, right? What was
Yeah.
happening with Jacaranda Hub in Zambia, I realized I was like, hold on, guys, we're actually doing a lot of similar work in different
Yeah.
environments, but we're not
I agree.
connected, we're not collaborating, we're not working together, we're not sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, sharing ecosystems. Then Jumani published this article. It was like a masterclass article, but it was a process document on how you run an incubator hub. And as somebody who runs incubator hubs, I looked at this and I was like, hold on, he's just answered problems it would have taken me 3 years to solve. And then I
Mm.
realized, like, but hold on, there's a lot here of learning, a lot of experiential learning and stuff that we can do together. So, my challenge to myself for the year 2020, for those of you who don't know, every year I give myself a big daring challenge, something that scares me and I have to do it. So, my challenge to myself for the year 2020, I was like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect and collaborate with the ecosystem movers and shakers across the continent so that we can all push from a singular platform. And so it's about how do
Mm.
we amplify the work that we're doing? How do we amplify the success stories of that work? How do we attract more people into our ecosystem in our different markets? Because
Yeah.
even though our challenges might be political, I'm not sure that our solutions need to be political. I think that in our
I
different
agree.
spaces, we all need to do different things that are going to amplify that space. So, CK, just very quickly, maybe just give everybody a sense of the work you're doing best, first with the Innovation Village, and then what you're doing with Motivate. Because when I realized what you were doing with Motivate, and I was like, I sold a company called Motivate. This guy's now doing stuff, and he called the company Motivate. I felt like I should have sent you an invoice for the logo or the name or something. So tell everybody what it is that you're doing with your own space.
Well, thank you, Vusi. If you send me an invoice for everything you help us figure out, then I won't have a company. But thank you for bringing these conversations up. I congratulate Germany for bringing this, and allowing it to grow, across boundaries. So the Innovation Village is Uganda's launchpad for leading entrepreneurs. And we've grown, threefold in just a very short time, with a single aspiration that if we have entrepreneurs, our entrepreneurs in Uganda are as good as entrepreneurs anywhere in the world. But we realize that they don't, live up to the hype, or they don't really achieve that aspiration like entrepreneurs else out there. And so our entry point was to try to build, a typical type incubator, hoping that we will create an environment where an entrepreneur can come, start a business, and then we'll be able to invest in the entrepreneur, and then help them, start, grow, expand their venture. I like to say the part we forgot that we didn't have $100 million to invest in any every entrepreneur that comes through that. I don't know how we forgot that part, but we quickly then discovered that there is no self-sustaining incubation hub model across the continent.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just say you're going to build an incubator or an accelerator because the ecosystem is nascent. It's just beginning to grow. And you can't play at one point of the value chain. So unfortunately, we, assume the role of ecosystem building. And what that means is you almost do 10 times more than a typical incubator. If you're going to support one entrepreneur, you need to worry about the financing. How am I going to invest in this entrepreneur? You need to worry about market access for the entrepreneur. You need to help the entrepreneur understand the difference between a good idea and a good business idea, and that coming up with an idea doesn't make you, God's gift to Africa. You need to think about all of that. So a lot of the work we've done at the Innovation Village, which has been 26 hours a day, 8 days a week, has been around building the ecosystem that the entrepreneur needs before we even think of incubation.
Very quickly, before we move on to the next, I do have this question for you.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked you this question when I first met you. I said to you, how did you find the right people to help you activate that vision? Because one of the conversations we never talk about as entrepreneurs, it's one thing to have the vision, it's very different finding people who can activate that vision, who can act on it, deliver it, and be personal about it. How did you do that?
Well, we'll see. If I had that answer, I wouldn't be here. People and talent is actually harder than money to find. You have so many stories of discovery and pain. But I think what worked for us was you have to understand that's part of the process of building. You spend as much time building the people and the talent, and you need to be ready for them to hate you, for during that process, because growth in itself is painful. So their own growth is painful. As you're working with them, they will hate you, and some will even curse you and leave the room, and you'll never see them again. But they really fail to understand that the pain they were going through is the growth they needed to go through to reach the next level.
I'm with
you.
So
that's still a learning process, for me. And we learn as we go. It's part of if we solve for that, then we've solved for everything else.
I got to tell you, a guy I think should actually write a book about this is Jumani. I'll tell you why. Jumani has people around. I look at his people and I'm like, how did he get these people? And he's got a lady in his office, I won't mention her name, who is a rock star. So it's a true story. So I'm out over there last year, now over a year ago, I'm doing a masterclass. I finished doing the masterclass. Masterclass is done. I come home, I fly home, and then I left and I went to Dubai, I think. And then I get to Dubai and I'm like, why is my Medium account so busy? I'm getting a lot of hits on my Medium account. And what had happened was, this particular young lady went and took my entire masterclass and transposed it into text and loaded it on their Medium and then referenced my Medium. And I was like, you see, this is just, how did you, so Jumani, you have to write a book on how to get good people.
Oh my God. First of all, I'm still learning. And I agree with CK. Getting talents and people is one of the most difficult things in Africa. We really talk about access to finance. We talk about business environment, but I'm telling you for a fact, getting the right people to help you execute your vision is the most difficult part in this part of the continent. Down the years, one of the tricks I've been using is literally to grow with people, helping them to become more than me, creating another version of me.
Yeah.
It's a very painful process,
Yeah.
as CK said. Some will left in the process.
Yeah.
Some will remain with you, but at the end of the day, you will even lose some of them to a better paying work.
Yeah.
But
oh, that's my worst. That's my absolute worst. That's my worst. 18 months to develop someone, and just when they start adding value, they want to leave.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's my absolute worst. I feel like it should be built into the contracts of working for startup owners that you're in for 5 years and you don't have a choice. You can't opt out.
Yeah, but it's necessary. It's necessary because if we really want to grow the ecosystem, we have to create these talents. We have to create this next generation of gazelles who are transforming the continent. It's extremely important. We need to have 100 CK Japhets
Yeah.
in Uganda. We need to have 1,000 Mara in Zambia. We need to have 1,000,000 Vusis in SA to completely transform the continent. So that is our noble work. Once we identify a CK Japhet from very early stage of their career, we need to groom them, we need to nurture them, we need to give them opportunities to shine, and we need to be ready as masters to be phased out, because that is also very important. Because sometimes we just want people to grow enough, not to leapfrog us, and that's a disease of Africa. But we have to accept, if we are to move to that next stage, it's extremely crucial we create the next generation of talents who are going to transform the continent by allowing them to learn from us.
I want to go to so Just Ibe, and I quickly before we talk a bit about some of the things we've got coming up for Global Entrepreneurship Week and Sahara Sparks. I want to come to you, right? So just over a week ago, we heard about Stripe's acquisition of Paystack, and I remember coming across that platform. I want to say just over 2 years ago. And I was looking at their numbers and their growth numbers, and I was like, this thing is on fire, right? And so my question is, I want to understand from you, like, there's a lot that's often said about the operating environment that is Nigeria, right? And every time I've been there, the one part that scares me the most is how you can travel 100 kilometers in Lagos and feel like you're in completely different countries. The cultures are different, the people are different, the language is then different. So we talk about, there's almost this this idea that actually Nigeria is just like one big mesh, but it's not. It's complex. There's a lot of nuances and detail. What have you seen successful startups do to build a business in the context of Nigeria?
So I think, like every other startup in Africa, we are just very resilient people. One of the things I believe we have going for us in Nigeria is numbers. Okay, and I feel like Nigerians to a very large extent are loyal to businesses who want to grow. As long as it's a solution that works, everybody just wants to patronize you. And I know that the Paystack guys are operating in an industry that is upcoming. Fintech is almost, I don't want to call it the new gold, but it's very upcoming and a lot of people are paying attention. And because the internet space is now very, very widely utilized by a lot of young people in Nigeria and by extension Africa, the need for a payment solution was imminent, and Paystack is positioned to be able to do a lot of these collections. So really what will be responsible for their growth is just their resilience, innovation, their ability to want to create solutions that people need. And at every point in time, start thinking, how can we match this with international standards? How can we make sure that we're able to help you collect money from different parts of Africa? Because I know that Paystack, they were at every point in time able to collect money from all the different parts in Africa. And I believe that their partnership with Stripe is probably to be able to extend into the international market. So innovation, I would say, resilience, number 2. And then number 3 is we have quite a good number. And a lot of people are now very aware that the social media space or internet space, as it were, is one of the new things to pay attention to. I do have a contrary opinion, however, as to whether selling it was a right decision, right? But I don't think that's the context of this conversation. I have a totally different school of thought about that. But with the context of this conversation, let's just keep it at that.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thought, right? And maybe it's a thought we should park for our Sahara Sparks event. But similar things were said about Jumia. I remember the Jumia conversation. I'm going back now. Just Stevie, you could correct me, but I'm going back. What is it? 7 years? About 6-7 years when the Jumia transaction happened, and then immediately after that, Sim Shagaya created Konga.com, right? So the point about it is that I think that's a part of the ecosystem. Here's my view. I'm like, look, if the guy sold and it was the incorrect decision strategically, markets don't like vacuums. So somebody will fill that gap anyway. But if I was them, at the rate at which they were growing, with their burn rate on capital and the potential of the continent and having access to the balance sheet of a Stripe, it's a no-brainer. I would have done that deal yesterday. And as an investor, I have to say, as an investor in startups, my biggest hang-up is how illiquid startups are. So the idea that somebody's willing to pay for the asset, for me, I'm just like, look, sell, chief, sell. We'll worry tomorrow about strategy and about, country pride and, country to worry about it tomorrow. But for now, just sell. Just do this thing.
I have a totally different view. But it's okay. Like you said, let's leave that for Sarah's facts. Totally different view.
So Mara, I've got to make a confession. So about again, it was probably about six years ago. I did a small little deal. It was a dollar-based equity transaction in Zambia, and I remember at the time, the story was like, oh, Zambia, copper, the copper belt, and the development of the copper belt, and startup ecosystem, and the banks need help, and a lack of innovation. And so off I went, and this business was being pitched to me, and I looked at this business at the time. I was still investing very much as an angel, and I did, so I did the investment. And and this is the comment I want to get to, right? So the capital raise was US dollars, but the business operating, of course, in the local market earns revenue in the local currency. And even though the actual underlying business on a like-for-like basis has grown up between now and then probably about 600%. Even though that's the case, the investment hasn't panned out just because of how the currency has performed relative to the dollar, which was the peg that the deal was done in, right? So here's the question I have for you, and I'd love for the rest of you guys to jump in. Here's my question. My question is, how do we bridge the gap here between global capital, which wants to invest using the dollar, and local startups which need capital in local currency, given a continent that has the kind of demographics that we have, where we cannot expect people who are below the poverty line to be paying dollar prices for local currency goods. So I think what we'll do is let's take a quick break, and then after this quick break, I'm going to come directly to you, Mara, and you can tell us your thoughts.
Okay.
All right, everybody, we're back. So, Mara, I'm going to come directly to you because I'm cognizant of our time, and I know that everybody here has got very tight calendars. So, Mara, I'm going to come directly to you. I'm going to rehash my question. So, we raise a lot in U.S. dollars. That's just it's the reserve currency of the world, right? So, if you're talking to any of the large institutional investors, it's a dollar conversation, right? But the actual underlying businesses that we're investing in, it's not until they get to Series A, Series B that they start having dollar valuations. So a lot of them, the valuations tend to be based in local currency, particularly at seed and pre-seed stage. So the question for you is, how do we bridge that gap where the currency we raise in is not necessarily the currency we invest in, and then doesn't translate to the currency where the value is created? What do you think? And I know I'm throwing you under the bus here. I just want to get your thoughts.
I think the first stop would be having very broad conversations with governments, for them to understand the impact of us having to do with two currencies. So you've got the kwacha, but the kwacha does not trade in other countries. So we always are at a disadvantage or an advantage in some cases. So we need to create an environment that can give people the opportunity to grow to that level or that standard of business transaction. Right now, the challenge is we're looking inward and operating businesses which should compete favorably on a global market, but operating them like it's a local business and it will never grow. And that then never prepares you to sort of have a conversation with anyone that is coming out of your country to be able to have a business transaction. So I think the first stop is, how can we create an environment that can sort of elevate people's perspective on how they can, perform on a global platform. But then the second one also is investor readiness. A lot of our businesses in Zambia, a lot of them are not investor ready. And so when we go and have a conversation now where you need investment, you don't have any form of preparedness, and everything then becomes too foreign for you to even attract anyone that wants to invest in your business. So as we establish the businesses and as we have these conversations about growth and scaling, we need to start preparing ourselves to attract the bigger market. That is a huge challenge right now. We're running an investor readiness program that we're starting with AfriLabs. And the bigger conversation is, we want to create investable startups or entrepreneurs that will have a global or a wider perspective on how they should start operating and how they can attract a wider scope of investors. And then the other thing, I think it's really looking at the economic performance of the country. Because if our country is not performing favorably, it's very difficult for us to even have the currency that will attract more investment, especially for the small to medium businesses. So productivity, creating new and high performing businesses, but also looking at how the macro economies can start to create better environments so that it attracts investment for everyone, not just for the government. And increasing on loans and getting more bonds and whatnot. But we're looking at a performance that is even and can benefit everyone in the country. So it's different conversations that will sort of play and affect that move for us to get to a level where small businesses can have that sort of attraction.
I hear you. Let me jump in there. Jumani, what do you think? Do we have a problem of businesses that are investor ready, or do we have a problem of investors that are entrepreneur ready? What do you think?
Good question.
I think
Something seems to be wrong with your connection there, Jumani.
It's a complex situation. It's a puzzle that needs to be fixed. On one side, entrepreneurs who are looking for capital, but they're not
Maybe what we
invested
do,
already.
let's
And on the other side,
hey,
you have
Jumani, I don't know if you can hear us, brother.
that are looking. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just your connection is quite poor. So what I'm going to do is ask CK to answer that question, and then you can just try and get a better connection and come back. Is that okay?
Can you?
Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting question, Vosi, and also connected to what Mara said. I think I'm drawing inspiration from the big lie of small business, and you really have to go back to the beginning. I think it's not US dollar, small currency, many investors, no entrepreneurs. It's much bigger than that. For example,
No problem. Do that, please.
I've been thinking that why is the US one market, and why are we
55 markets?
Yeah,
Insane.
different markets.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, so it really goes down to what we've been served and what we've accepted, as a continent, as a humanity.
Yeah.
So you find that reflects in so many different ways. It 100%. Could be investment. It could be Tony Lemelu, who was saying that he needs a visa to get to countries in Africa, but he doesn't need a visa to get to Europe and the US, So I think we need to go back. A lot of that is just a symptom, and I'm happy that we're able to bring this conversation and have a conversation at Africa level. And while thinking about this conversation, and we can go in so many different ways, this is a very good start. And we're like, they say the pioneers get the arrows and the settlers, get the land. It's a very good conversation we have set a pace for, but if we don't begin from here henceforth, creating value for the different things that we all care about, then it will just be, that other, conversation. And that can be, anything. It could be, what Nigeria is facing. All I know is is happening in my own country.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jumani, I'm going to come back to you. I can see that Vanessa shouted at you and you got your line working. So I'm going to come back to you. And again, I'm going to ask you the question. So do we have a problem of businesses that are investor ready? Or, and this is my own personal hypothesis, do we have a problem of investors that are actually startup culture ready? I mean, if you think about how many high net worth individuals in Africa take their wealth and go buy properties in Europe. Think about how much of them externalize their wealth out of their own countries, right? So it's not that we don't have high net worth individuals. We've got them. They're just not taking their money and putting it into seeding the next generation of businesses, right? It's like, I've got the money and they hoard it. And then and then they wonder why there are young people en masse that are unemployed. And I'm like, but wait a minute. The Bentley that you bought could have funded 4 startups. And I'm not saying don't buy Bentley. I'm saying delay the Bentley, fund the 4 startups, get the carried interest from the 4 startups, and 3 years later, and then buy the Bentley Sport. I'm just like, so again, I ask the question, what do you think, Jumani? I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so this is very exciting. I can see she's just fired up. She wants to. Yeah. So I think the problem is this all entrepreneurial conundrum is kind of complex to elder Africans, and one of the main reasons is how they become rich. Most of the Africans, they become rich through privatization and what we call tenderpreneurs. They won big public tenders, and all of a sudden they become millionaires or African billionaires. So they don't appreciate the process. They don't appreciate the grind. They don't appreciate someone needs to start from the scratch and build something ground up. And that's the number one problem. If you approach an African millionaire right now and tell them to support an incubator or accelerator because there are some entrepreneurs that are starting at the idea level, the challenge is that they've never gone through that process.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying we need to create the VUSIs, the CK Japheth, the Maras, so that our own entrepreneurs can see people they aspire to be.
Absolutely.
Because they've started from the ground up. And that is extremely important. If you get a young kid right now who is starting in Kampala, fresh from Kampala University, he'll be more interested to learn about the story of CK than some tenderpreneur out there who will just become millionaires because government are moving some asset from a foreigner to a local potential investor, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing that we're supposed to do is to actually build our own network of people who appreciate the process, who are ready to invest back to these young people. But also we need to educate rich Africans that really, not just in the book, but charity has to begin from home. Because you don't expect a foreign investor to come to invest in Tanzania if the local angel investors in Tanzania are not doing anything
100%.
for the ecosystem.
100%.
It's simply saying, I know my kids are hungry, but I'm going to feed my neighbor's kids. That doesn't happen. If I'm Brazilian, I want to invest in Brazil ecosystem before I come to invest in Tanzanian ecosystem. And for me to come to invest in Tanzanian ecosystem, the first common sense is that are Tanzanians investing in Tanzanians? If Tanzanians themselves are not investing in Tanzanians, where should I go and invest in Tanzania? So that is something really I think we need to fix. I don't know how to educate them. It's kind of chaotic, but one way I really like what Urban Africa Business Angel Network is doing, bringing these high net worth individuals in Africa together. They put together a cause for angel investors to help them understand how angel investment work. Just to get these people not to continue investing dead capitals.
100%.
Because all they do is to buy land and trees and buildings. They don't have time to invest in their own. And what they don't know that we are getting in this age of new power. What is happening in Nigeria right now will be happening across the continent. We are the youngest continent. We'll be young for the next 30 years. And these people don't have opportunity. They don't go to the roads because they want SARS to end. There are just so many things, and SARS is just part of that, you know. So I really like the statement also what Vusi you said. Most of our problems are political, but not all solutions are political. Yeah. If you just fix the fund and investment side of things, you are promising new opportunities to a lot of young people. I should stop there.
Yeah. But before you come in, Vusi, one of the things I wanted to say is, in a way, and I was having this conversation earlier today with my PA, and we're asking each other, like, why is it most, and I'll give a scenario for Zambia, why is it that most Zambians who we categorize as rich or wealthy, why is it they take their money outside? I think the other thing is the incentive to keep your money. One, look at just the inflation in this short period of time. We've moved from 7 to about 20%, right? And so if you're keeping your money locally, you know it's going to lose value. So there's no benefit to you keeping your money in the country. But then again, you become, a target for a lot of questions. Where is this money coming from? How did you make this money? Like, it's almost as if Zambians are not prepared to have wealthy Zambians. We're not ready to normalize wealthy Zambians, right? And so therefore you become a target. They question where your money came from, and I keep saying, like, for myself, in the next 5 years, you're probably going to say, I sold my years in Dubai, because you don't know what my journey has been. So you don't understand where I'm going. And also, I think it's a matter of what I've discovered, defining wealth, especially for our local, would-be angel investors. We like the idea of wealth creation being defined by material things. So I've got land, I've got beautiful cars, and I'm net worth is this much. What are you doing? What's your impact value? Where are you placing your wealth and changing lives? If you look at the richest people in the world, look at how much they're doing to change and impact communities. Sure. Communities outside of their own country of origin. But when you look at local, entrepreneurs and local would-be angel investors, we want to then fall on a category of the wealthiest person in Zambia having owned so many houses and so many cars. I think we need to sort of break what we've been taught as the normal definition for wealth and then start to redefine it so that people start to also normalize the idea of having a lot of money and being able to invest back in your country.
Sure.
But then again, for me, the fight goes back to government.
Sure.
Make it normal that you have wealthy Zambians and don't target them when you find that they actually have a net worth of so much of, a certain amount of money.
Across Africa.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing. Sorry, Jaskibe, that's why I was laughing. That's a Pan-Africanism. The looking down on each other, the constant probing, the constant worrying, the constant. We love scamifying success. So if somebody's a success, they must be a scam. There must be a crime to it. And the truth about it is that I think we do it because we, at a communal level, don't believe we are worthy of success. And so when one amongst us stands up and shows success, we find them an outlier and we find a way to pull them down. Quickly, guys, I'm cognizant of the time. I want to close. Jumani, I'll close with you. It's giving us a sense of what's coming up at Sahara Sparks. But CK, it would be remiss of me if I didn't. So to the conversations and entrepreneurs watching this conversation, and by the way, we've had thousands of them watching the conversation. I'm seeing comments from Denmark, Lithuania, Zambia, Nigeria, Portugal. They're coming from all over. So it's a global experience of people watching us and going, we actually identify with this. CK, very quickly, if you can, for me, give me like 3 tips that you think a startup founder in the year 2020 in Africa needs to know. These are the 3 things you have to know if you're building a startup.
Thank you, Bosi. I think for me, it's something I've had to pick up, even from conversations like this. We spend a lot of time seeking, validation and acceptance for the ideas that we are building and, the startups that we're building. It's almost as if for it to be valid, someone has to say, I like what you're doing. And yet ideas don't come out, valid. They come out better as you work on them. So I think it's that feeling of the dream is free, feel free to get your idea, but you're going to have to pay separately for the hustle to see it come to life. So put in the work. And then something else that I've been able to pick up is about short-termism that I keep talking about. And it was brought up by Bill Gates and the BBC. They said that one of the biggest crises we face is today, modern day, is short-termism. What that means is we overestimate the amount of time it's going to take. We overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. So Vusi of today is not Vusi of 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So, it's going to take time. Give yourself that gift of understanding where you need for the long time. And then finally, it's think scale. Africa is not a country, but it is different market opportunities for you. So don't just build for where you are in the corner you are.
Gotcha.
Think about how you can take this across here.
Love that.
Can I add something in 1 minute?
Of course you may.
Please?
Go for it. Yeah.
So I think that the fundamental thing that we must address as African is we have been sold a dependency mindset, even from our colonization.
Sure.
If we don't fix that as a people, we would pour into people who are not ready to build. The average startup you're talking to is interested in getting that money because he wants to do something grand. Maybe buy himself a car. Very few ones even see why they need to bring that money in and invest in their immediate community. In the Association of African Startups, we have 3 key mantras. How are you influencing your community, your country, and the continent? If you aren't able to measure these 3 things, you aren't truly adding value as a startup. So we must begin to indoctrinate the mindset of our startups to say, you are here as a business owner because your community, your country, or your continent depends on what you carry. If we don't change that, we'll find out that we are raising the same set of people who are trying to obliterate from the system. Pardon me for using that very harsh term, but that's just what it is. Yeah. So we must consciously, at the background of everything we do, start with a mindset re-engineering, as we are doing with the Association of African Startups. We first tell you why you exist. What are you here to create solution for? Who would lose things if you don't move? When people begin to get that sense of personal responsibility, they are resolved to add value, they are resolved to stay consistent, they are resolved to go beyond their ordinary effort or strength, will be stronger because they know that they are responsible to building something that we call our country or the continent.
Got you. I love it. Jumani, I'm going to close with you, lad. So tell us about what's coming up in Sahara Sparks 2020.
Brilliant. So it's already happening. So already we're having our City Sparks, and I'm very excited for this amazing session. Powerhouses of the entrepreneur ecosystem in Africa coming together. Activities are going to start part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week. We'll have these conversations a week before the main week. The main events are going to be on 27th and 28th of November. On 28th, some of this conversation about investment will be happening. We'll be talking about seed stage investment, growth stage investment. We're going to have amazing startup pitching on that day. More information is available on the website, www.saharasparks.com. You can select the sessions you want to register, you can join the session, and you can follow the conversation online through my growth fund, through Vusi's personal channel, through my personal channel, as well as the hashtag Beyond 2020. So I'm very excited and looking forward to hosting you guys virtually. I wish you were physically in Tanzania.
There's a great beachfront restaurant in Dar es Salaam, and I wish I was there just to stay at that hotel, just to be at the hotel. I wasn't even going to show up at the conference and speak. I just want to be on the beachfront at the hotel. So, guys, I want to thank you so much. CK, I'm looking forward to the amazing work we're going to be doing together, brother. Jumani, you're a gem. Just Ibe, you are doing incredible work. We are humbled and proud that you are in our time, in our generation. And Mara, we love you and we appreciate all the work that you do. So that's it for today. Again, go to saharasparks.com, go to vusitembegwire.com. Go and check out the Innovation Village on all of the social medias. Check out Just Ibe, check out Mara, the Jacaranda Hub. Check out Jumani and the good people at Sahara Sparks. It's an incredible time. It's an incredible platform. It's 2020, and we have an amazing opportunity to build a new future. So here's to it. One more thing, just one more thing. Don't forget. You know, like when you watch those American infomercials, they go, and just one more thing. Yeah, this is one more thing. If you're watching this, go click on the share button and share it so that as many people can see it as possible. Hit the bell icon to make sure you get notifications when we do this again in future. Right. Yantanda, love you lots. Have a good one. Cheers.
But they don't see the sweat.